Hello. Cheers, Kevin here. How are you doing? It's a bonus video. Yeah. Making a lot of videos. Time for a bonus video. That's what I do to procrastinate from working on videos, is just record more videos. I want to make a video that sort of responds to some of the comments that I got on yesterday's video, because you guys left some comments and I think a lot of them sort of have similar advice, and I want to talk about that specifically. I also just want to briefly say thanks for those of you who kind of gave me information about what you've been experiencing with various audio and video sync issues. If you do notice stuff on videos, it would help me still if you let me know, even though this very well could just be YouTube is broken again. YouTube developers, go fix your freaking platform. It could also be that I'm uploading stuff in a weird format and I could identify, oh yeah, these types of videos are fine, these ones are not, and there's some things that I could fix. So if you do see those, please let me know. I appreciate it. And yeah. I talked about quitting. I was like, I want to quit. I talked about how do you know when to quit particular projects or when to scale down particular projects. And I was thinking in particular of, I've got things like the book review channel, which I'm not enjoying creating stuff for very much. I've got, there are various other projects that are not performing particularly well. And trying to figure out, all right, at some point you have to say, let's throw in the towel for this thing, maybe bring it back later, but in the meantime, invest that energy into improving something else. And I was terrified because I don't know how to do that. Most of the skills that I've been developing and working on are surround forcing myself to stick to things when I want to quit them, right? I spend a ton of energy avoiding quitting. And now I go, well, there are some times when you actually need to quit. How do I distinguish between those things? Now, a lot of you left some sort of similar advice, and I'm not going to call out individuals because I think I can't mention everybody. I can't respond to everybody's comment individually, and so I don't want to. So I'm just going to sort of say, the crowd thinks this. You pointed out something that's kind of important, is that what are the criteria by which we evaluate these projects, right? And at this point, I need to warn you that if we're talking about evaluating things that you're working on, well, that means we have to talk about numbers. And more dangerously, that means we have to talk about some not so great numbers. I'm in a cheery mood. This is not a big deal. It's totally fine. But I am going to have to talk about YouTube numbers a little bit. And I know a lot of people kind of get frustrated by that. I get frustrated when I think about YouTube numbers, right? It makes me very angry to just to think about it, because it feels like I'm just, come on, Kevin, just make stuff. Don't care about the numbers are dumb, and the numbers are dumb. But if we're trying to evaluate whether or not a project is successful, well, the numbers have are a factor. How much that factor matters is up for debate, but we do have to sort of talk about it. And I just want to warn you, we're going to be doing some of that. Now this isn't, we're not going to be, anyway. So generally speaking, so you point out, like, yeah, what are the ones that are working? What are the things that you are progressing on? And what are the goals that you have for these projects? And I was thinking about this and I said, shoot, I guess I don't really have any. I certainly don't have any hard set goals for any of the things that I'm working on, whether it's YouTube channels or podcasts or projects or of any sort. I don't say I want to be able to play something on the piano by November or anything like that. I don't say I want to hit this viewer subscriber count by some particular date. I don't say, we want the podcast to be bringing in this amount of revenue. Like none of these things are a factor right now. The only rule that I have is, hey, so on Wednesdays, Kevin, you need to upload a book review video. Like, that's my goal. My goal is the Seinfeld calendar, right? The Seinfeld calendar being the, hey, say you're going to do a thing, get a big calendar, draw an X each day, and then don't break that chain of X's. Don't leave gaps. Don't break the chain. Just stick to the things. And when I stick to the things, I am meeting my goals. When I don't stick to the things, I am not meeting my goals. So by that really reductive metric, everything that I am working on is 100% successful. It's pretty awesome. Except the gaming channel a little bit, because I have been having to flip around videos a little bit to make sure that some of the stuff that was pre-recorded ends up taking up a slot because I don't get something else uploaded in time. It's a gaming channel, a little bit less than perfect, but that becomes a little bit of a problem. And I guess now when I ask the question of like, well, how do you know what to scale back and what to quit? And they say, well, what are your goals? That's not a goal that really informs things, right? So what are the goals that actually can matter? Well, if we look at the options, what are the options? If you want to say, let's imagine that you have a hypothetical YouTube channel. Maybe you have a real YouTube channel, but imagine that's not, divorce yourself from whatever you currently do. Let's say that you have a YouTube channel. Let's say that you have a YouTube channel and you don't have to put any work into it. You own a YouTube channel and somebody else makes the videos and uploads them and they perform however. You have to decide whether you want to just stick with that YouTube channel or trade it for some other YouTube channel where someone else will also make the video. So it's not a change in effort. We're just trying to make this like a let's make a deal type of thing, right? How do you decide whether to stick with what you're currently doing or swap it out for something else? Well, one metric, the relatively obvious metrics are, well, look at the views, the subscribers, the trends, the shares, the everything like that. And this is where a lot of people kind of focus their efforts. I know a lot of, particularly I've seen a lot of small YouTubers that are like, man, I really want to get to 100 subscribers. I really want to get to 150 subscribers. I really want to get to 1,000. Oh my God, I got 1,000 subscribers. This is going to be amazing. And I used to have a very similar attitude. Like, yeah, I would like to hit this subscriber goal by this date. Or I would like to have a 1 million view video. I'd still like to have a 1 million view video. The How to Learn Code is, maybe give it another 100 days, it might get to a 1 million views. It's like 2 years old now. But those numbers are very seductive because they're very easy. If you're trying to figure out, hey, should I stick with this or swap it for something else? Well, it's hard work to figure out. But if you can just get a number, well, this one's a 10 and this one's a 5. Well, cool. Perfect. Thank you for putting all the effort in for me. But there is a big problem with numbers on the internet. And that is that the internet is not a proportional system. If I make a video and it is decent, let's say that it gets 100 views. If I make a video that is twice as good, how many views should it get? We know intuitively, like just by saying that, we know that the answer is ridiculous. The very question, the premise of the question is flawed, right? That if I double the quality of the video, first off, what is double the quality? We have no idea. But let's imagine that I were able to know, like, this is double the quality. This video is twice as good, empirically. You still wouldn't expect it to get 200 videos. In fact, what you expect is you expect this long tail curve with stuff where you have very few super successful videos, and you have an awful lot of not successful at all videos. And even then, you're not really talking about just like this threshold that you fall down. It's not like playing Plinko where you're like, okay, well, no, I am bad or I am good. So you have the super successful video and the super terrible video. And it does seem that when you are on that long tail of kind of smaller responses, there is also a lot of noise in that data. Right? If I make a video that gets 100 views and I make a video that gets 200 views, can I infer? Can I say, all right, given those numbers, I can say that the 200 view video was in any way better? Probably not, because variances in just social media habits, whether certain people shared things out, whether YouTube showed things to the right people at the right times, they all impact that number. This is called noise when in data analysis type of stuffs. And basically you have to try and filter all of that out. And the problem is that when you're dealing with things on this sort of scale, On the smaller scale, you really can't. I think I have to imagine, right, that if Phil DeFranco has a video that he puts up and it gets 10 million views, and he has a video that he puts up and it gets 2 million views, he might actually be able to use those numbers and go, you know what? I think maybe I'm doing something pretty cool in the 10 million view one. Like, I don't know, probably putting women in the thumbnail. Probably. I don't know. But particularly on that small end, there's so much noise. And so when you set goals and evaluate the stuff that you're doing based on these external metrics that are very noisy, well, then you're tying yourself to something that's kind of dumb, right? If you have 50 subs and you set a goal to get to 60 subs, you're just going, hey, maybe random chance, right? Obviously, you are actively working on trying to make that happen as well. But noise is going to play perhaps even more of an effect than your efforts. So this is why generally I try to avoid setting any of these sorts of goals that are tied to things like subscriber count, view count, shares, anything like that. Maybe if I put out even things like likes. I can create a video that gets a certain number of likes. I can create a video that gets no likes. It could just be that it just so happened that day you were watching something on your computer versus your phone, and you don't generally you don't like using the mouse and going and clicking where it's super easy on your phone, or you're watching a whole bunch of videos on your TV, and so you went through and who knows how to like a video on your TV? I certainly don't. Whatever the case may be, there's all of this noise that you have to just say, who knows? Who knows? There is so much data that YouTube throws at you, and it's very tempting to go, okay, this must matter. On a large scale, yeah. On a large scale, yeah. You can tease out meaning from that. You're still going to see variances. You're still going to see noise. It's when you turn on the radio and you hear static. All that is you're listening to additional stuff that's like, is this maybe a voice? No, it's totally not a voice. Yeah. So with that ramble sort of out of the way, the question then becomes, okay, well, if we can't evaluate those, if we can't use those numbers, what should we use? And I don't know. And it does kind of make me nervous, because if we were to use numbers, what I can say is that just about every project that I'm working on is failing. Which is another reason why I don't pay attention to these numbers, right? Because the information that we get from that is not useful. It's not something, if I just say, all right, everything that I'm doing is failing, well, then the answer is quit everything, right? Is that going to be the sort of thing that helps me, continue to make better stuff, to feel creatively fulfilled and to interact with you guys? No, that is not the sort of action that's gonna fix that problem. And of course, there's always that ramp up time. If I start making something new, it's gonna start being bad. I need to get better at my craft. I need to get better at the stuff that I'm doing. So, I guess this is a response to comments. This is not a, hey, here's an answer to a question, because I don't have an answer. A lot of you have rightfully pointed out, like, yeah, there's some concept of success for a project, and the decision whether to scale back a project or put more effort into a project should be based on whatever that idea of success is. And if my metric for success, which it is right now, is, did I release all of the things? Well, then yes, everything is 100% success. I will take my Oscar, Grammy, Emmy, Tony. All the awards. Congratulations to me. If my metrics for success are how many people are watching, what does the trend line look like for that? Well, the trend line for most of the stuff that I'm doing is going down. The gaming channel is a little bit different. Part of that is it's hard to even see just because I've been putting out more and more content, so it's hard to entirely tell. But mostly the trends are going down with the stuff. If the metric is financial, things are remaining flat or slightly going down, with the exception of the people who are supporting on Patreon, which is really it's so nice to be like, hey, this is a number that is just going to be like more general. It's not going to be like, oh, you made a bad thing and the advertisers are bored this week. And so, so now things are changing. Not that that's ever really driven anything, but it's nice to see a number that isn't quite as noisy, right? If I can make stuff that people appreciate, then cool. That number should, in theory, reflect that, scaled to some value. There's going to be noise in there too, but so I guess rather than saying, when should I quit? I want to ask you personally, how do you evaluate the stuff that you're working on? How do you know what's good? How do you know what's bad? How do you know what's working and what's not working? Because, and as some of you point out, there are definitely things that you hate doing, but you think are worthwhile doing. There are some things that you love doing that are not worthwhile doing. So just measuring, trying to track like subjective happiness or subjective satisfaction is not the best thing. One of you mentioned that definitely don't make the decision to like quit a thing within the same time frame as doing the thing, because you're gonna have some pretty bad biases at the time. But what do you do? I don't have a gut feeling about. Or rather, even if I have a gut feeling about what is doing well and what is not, I can't trust that, right? Because there will always be the voices that are just stop. Just stop doing stuff, right? I suppose on the flip side, you can say that if you feel like, man, I really want to do more of this, I really want to keep doing that, you can probably trust that, right? Because there's not like this secret. I don't think anyone has this little voice in their head that's constantly berating them with lots of motivation, right? It's not like there's that voice that's going, you're the best, you're amazing, everything you make is gold. Like, nobody has to worry about that problem. So you don't have to worry that you're going to accidentally bias in the positive direction. So I guess if you feel super, super pumped about a thing, and I kind of feel like that with the streaming. I'm very much enjoying doing the streaming right now. It's a lot of that is just like new and excitement. But you do have to worry when you're going, because there is a voice that says, stop making things, stop working, stop getting out of bed, stop doing anything. Everything that you make is terrible. It's not worth the effort. All of the voices that you work on learning to ignore, and just sort of accepting that, yeah, I mean, that's part of being human, is that you're going to have these criticisms, and that it's fine. You can listen to some of the stuff it says, even, because sometimes it will actually give you some more detailed advice. It's like, hey, your intros really suck. Or, and then you go, okay, well, hey, you didn't have to be a dick about it, but fine. All right, I will at least take that and try and improve that part, right? But you can't just objectively look at something that you make and go, hey, does this actually suck? Because it's so hard to divorce that from, is this the voice or not? So I guess I have to re-ask the question. I think we've learned. I think we've expanded on this and gone a little bit deeper. How do you know if something is good or bad? How do you know if something is successful? I guess. How do you define success for the stuff that you do? Whatever it is that you do. Maybe I guess for a lot of you, how do you decide if you're successful at your job? If that's something that you want to stick with, or you need to change careers or something like that. Or how do you decide if the degree you're pursuing, you're doing it successfully, or you want to say, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to, look for a gig or something else. Or if you're doing creative stuff, how do you know? Because it's still very much an open question with me. And man, I just wish there was some sort of checklist, right? I wish I could just plug in numbers, and it's so hard not to, because man, the internet loves to give you numbers. The internet, I can go to websites and type in the name of my channels or my podcast and everything, and it will give me a letter grade, right? It'll be like, oh, that's a C-. And done. That problem is solved. But that metric is worse than useless. It is actively harmful because it will push you to make the wrong kinds of changes. So what do we use instead? That's my question for you. If you have advice, I would very much love to hear it. I'd love to continue this conversation down in the comments. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you again soon. Cheers.